Hello everybody, my name is Happy and I'd like to welcome you all to my History Reaction channel. Today we're back with more Sabaton because of course we are. You guys made it very clear you love Sabaton and I aim to please. Recently did a poll of the 4 most requested songs and here we are getting ready to cover Uprising. As always, I will include a link to the original video in the description down below. I highly encourage folks to go over and show Sabaton some love and support if you like what you see. These guys are amazing. They do great history. They gave we really want to make sure they know we appreciate them. All right. With that said, I don't really know what to expect in this video. Based on some of the comments that I saw, I believe it's about the Warsaw Uprising. That would have been what, on August 1st, 1944. Don't know a whole lot about it other than I know that, or at least last I heard, they still commemorate it on August the 1st as a day of national remembrance. In fact, to my understanding anyway, 5 p.m. they sound air raid sirens and everybody is expected to observe a moment of silence in remembrance of the events of the Warsaw Uprising. If anybody in the area happens to be watching and knows for sure if that's still the case, I assume it is. What was it called? Godzina Boo, I believe. I just remember it because when the first time I heard one of my professors mention it, I thought they said Godzilla Vu, and I was like, wait, what? Godzina Vu. Terribly tragic event, and one that could have, well, it is very inspirational, but it had every potential of being successful. If things had gone as planned, the people involved in the Warsaw Uprising the Soviets were approaching Warsaw, and people there had hoped that their uprising would give Soviets a chance to attack, that it would be a two-front attack, and that would end up in the liberation of Poland and Warsaw. But the Soviets halted. Part of that could be attributed to a military decision, but that's just nonsense, honestly. Yeah, they did have some military reasons to delay, but they could have pushed. They could have. Stalin's the one that held them back. He held them back purely for political reasons. He did not want a successful uprising in Warsaw. It's as simple as that. If the Warsaw uprising had succeeded, he would have had to deal with an independent government in Warsaw and presumably Poland as a whole, which he didn't want. He wanted to set up his own Soviet puppet state. So, of course, he held back. Horrible tragedy is so many of these deaths could have been prevented. Warsaw could have been liberated earlier. And the one thing, there have been apologists arguing that, yes, there were military reasons to hold back, but that doesn't explain Stalin refusing to allow the other allies, the U.S. and Britain in particular, to launch airdrops into Warsaw to help the uprising from Soviet-held territory. That pretty much gives the game away. Anyway, I'm getting a little off topic here. Well, not off topic, but I'm rambling a bit, and I'm not even 100% sure what this video is about. So we'll go ahead and get into this video. I fully expect to be horrified by this in the correct way. The music, I'm sure, will be spot on, but the Warsaw Uprising is just something that should never have happened. I mean, the uprising itself, that's not what I mean. I mean, they should have won. If the Soviets had done what the Soviets should have done, or at least let the other countries give help,
was the rule on Poland. 1939, and the Allies turned away. From the underground rose a hope of freedom as a whisper. City in despair, but they never lost their faith. Women, men, and children fight, they were dying side by side. And the blood they shed upon the streets was a sacrifice willingly paid. Warsaw, city at war, voices from underground, whispers of freedom. 1944, help that never came, calling Warsaw, city at war, voices from underground, whispers of freedom. Rise up and hear the call, history calling to you.
Oh, cool. I like that they use the original Polish language. That's a very nice touch.
Spirit, soul, and heart in accordance with the old traditions. 1944, still the Allies turned away.
I noticed that earlier he said the Allies turned away, and now it says the Allies still turned away. Yeah, because even though we did see the invasion of Poland lead to Allies declaring war on Germany at the beginning of the war, they really didn't do a lot to get over there and aid Poland. Not nearly what they could have done. I don't even know how to talk about things like this. They definitely could have done more. They had spent too much time trying to appease you-know-who, and they would have had to contend with both the Germans and the Soviets at this time. I remember at this particular time, the Soviets and Germans had signed a pact where they would jointly invade and occupy Poland. So Poland did not get the help they could have. They fought extremely well given what they were up against. And then again, here in 1944, the Soviets are right outside. They're very close. They have been fighting a long way. They are exhausted. They do have a river to cross still, but they could have done it. The hesitation wasn't about not being able to do it. It was very much Stalin seizing on that as an excuse not to do it, as I mentioned before, for political reasons, for a power play. And as a result, 200,000 or so civilians are going to die because
Fighting street to street in a time of hope and desperation. Did it on their own, and they never lost their faith. Women, men, and children fight. They were dying side by side, and the blood they shed upon the streets was a sacrifice willingly paid. Warsaw, city at war, voices from underground, whispers of freedom. 1944, help that never came, calling Warsaw, city at war, voices from underground, whispers of freedom. Rise up and hear the call, history calling to you.
the aftermath was just as bad. When the war started, about 25 to 30% of Warsaw was razed by the invading forces. When the uprising takes place in 1944, it's street-by-street fighting. It's urban warfare, which is terrible. Another 25% or so of the city is destroyed just from that. And then there are going to be repercussions for this uprising. it's going to see the Germans do even more damage. By the end of the war, 80 to 90% of Warsaw was ruined. And a lot of that comes here at the end, especially during and as a consequence of this uprising. I don't have words for stuff like this. I just really don't. All right. Well, that's the end of that. As usual, amazing video. Very emotional, as you can tell, because I'm having trouble speaking. I've said this before in a lot of the videos I covered, and I'll say it again. Military history's never been a strong point of mine, and I say that specifically because I'm not as excited by the big man version of history, the idea of great heroes like Napoleon, or leaders like Napoleon, Grant or Lee, or Alexander, take your pick, Caesar. Don't get me wrong, I love learning about these people too. And I'm not big on the battle details. But what really gets me is what I do get into when it comes to military history is the average everyday people that are living through these times. I'm far more likely to be looking at the letters and journals of citizens or soldiers and what they're writing and observing and seeing during this time. That's the part of military history that I'm the most. When I'm looking at something like the Warsaw Uprising or the Siege of Leningrad, which I spent a lot of time on, various other parts of history, I'm going to be more looking at what the people that were involved in things like this were saying, feeling, doing. Because to me, this is an aspect of war that doesn't get talked about a lot, because it's not as glorious sometimes as the great heroes or the epic battles. And because a lot of people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about the women, the children, the elderly, the civilians that are killed in this, sometimes horrible ways, whether it be from direct military action, whether it be from atrocities, like you see a lot in the 30 Years' War, you see in things like the Holocaust, or on smaller scale, like the My Lai massacre, Trail of Tears here in America. You just go on and on and on. But for me, understanding things like this to me is much more interesting, but it's harder. It's harder because it's a lot more emotionally charged. Like I said, easy to get caught up in great heroes or glorious, epic fights. But when you get down and you look at the stories of the people who are actually being affected by this, how they're being affected, it's harder. Um, but I think it's also these are stories I think need to be told more. So I watch something like this, it's rough on me, but it's also the kind of thing that I spend a lot of my time on. Anyway, and I haven't spent a lot of time on this one. This is something I do kind of want to look in, or looking at letters, journals of the people who were there, the people who um, engaged in this uprising, because that does kind of fall into my area. What makes people do things like this? Ordinary people, not the people who are expected to do this, but this is the guy next door, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. So I'm just going to thank you again for putting me on the Sabaton, and I will see you all next time. Thank you. Bye bye.